tell us more about yourself and your journey.
Okay, well, so my name is CJ Nord. I am the founder of Supply Chains for Good. The mission of the company is the protection of children and family prosperity. I seek to solve societal level problems using the tools and the tenacity of supply chain. I started Supply Chains for Good after spending approximately 30 years running manufacturing supply chains and after surviving cancer. I decided after surviving cancer that I wanted to do something that left a lasting impact on the world.
Thank you so much, CJ. That was indeed very beautiful and inspiring. I feel that taking such a big initiative is very, very inspiring to begin with. But at the same time, it comes with a lot of responsibility as well, because you're doing something for the good of the society.
Mhm.
So many years serving people, serving a purpose, how does it feel?
You know, as you said, it comes with a lot of responsibility. Whenever you start your own business, it's a different level of responsibility that you take on, but at the same time, it is incredibly freeing. We are freed from many restrictions that people that work for others have imposed upon them. So it's a give and take. And it's been
That is
very
true.
rewarding. I would not want to be on a different path.
Definitely. So, from the way that I understand that it not only serves a purpose, but it also gives you that feeling of autonomy because you're working for your own self, right?
Right.
So, how did it change your perspective of success, leadership, and the way you actually saw your career journey, to be specific?
In terms of success, it and leadership, what it did is cemented beliefs that I already had. So in my view, companies don't exist to create shareholder value. They exist to employ people and to expand family prosperity. That's the mission, right? You know, the real benefit of a business owner is knowing that 50 or 100 or 50,000 families are fed by the
That's
prosperity that they have created, right? That, in my opinion, is what money is for, right?
wow.
And it's perfectly fine for the business owner to get rich along the way, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, and that encourages investment, right? So that has really solidified one of my core beliefs and what always drove me to do more for the companies that I did work for. It was because the families in the factory were depending upon me to run an efficient supply chain. So there was
That
more
is
money
true.
for benefits and raises and all the other good stuff, right?
Yes.
Um,
I would love for our guests to know from you what is your definition of supply chain? Because you explained it to me very beautifully in our last
oh,
unrecorded
oh,
call, so I want them to know too.
okay. And we're going to have a little
I love
background
them. Yeah,
noise
I'm
here.
so busy looking at them. I was like, they're so cute.
It gives us something else to look at. So I have my two furry friends there. Okay, so
Adorable.
I do
Yeah,
think it is very important to define supply chain. Because, you know, let's face it, although it employs in the United States, 1/3 of our workforce. It's one of the biggest professions in the United States, actually twice as big as the medical profession. Very few people and many that are actually in the supply chain don't
yeah,
know how it's defined. So as Six Sigma has taught us, let's begin with define, right? So the definition of supply chain is every step in the process of getting a product or a service to the customer. Every
perfect.
step in the process. So logistics is a step in that process. Quality control is a step in that process. Certainly operations is procurement. All of those things are steps in the process. And when we understand that definition, we also understand that Government is a supply chain. Churches are a supply chain. Nonprofits are supply chains. Education is a supply chain, right?
That is so true.
And all of those run better with supply chain expertise.
Perfect. You literally spoke on something that is such a standard notion in everyone's head. As soon as you say supply chain, our brain, honestly, the first thing that comes to our brain is logistics. So you
Right?
start thinking delivery and all of those things. You don't realize that supply chain is a important term for a process. It can be applied to everything. As you mentioned, it can also apply to church, NGO, temples,
Any.
everywhere.
Right,
So
right. Logistics
you
is a specialization within it.
exactly.
It's like dentistry is to the medical profession, right?
Mhm.
It's just, and it's
Exactly.
understandable. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but it just quickly, the reason that that is so understandable that people say supply chain and think logistics is because logistics is what we see.
Exactly.
We see the trucks, we see the ships, we see the trains, right?
Every other
Understand.
important process just gets hidden. So we're like,
Mhm.
ah, we don't see it, so it's probably not that essential.
Right. Little do they know.
True. And I have read about one of your most interesting initiatives, which is There's Cash in That Trash, which promotes circular supply chain. So, firstly, for our audience, I would love for you to explain them the term of circular supply chain and then tell us more about the initiative.
Okay, so I'm so glad that you asked about this because it's really something that I want to get our peers. I want them to get their minds around this challenge that we have. So let me back up just a little bit. Beginning in about the mid 1980s, we built the global supply chain that's in place now. That means that people of my generation, right? We built it. We built it through partnerships. We built factories. We built ports, right? We built bridges that weren't there before. Okay. We formed that supply chain, and the motivation for that supply chain was profit. That is what motivates the building of a supply chain. So let us understand that, accept it with open arms, because that profit also feeds families, right? Profits are not inherently evil. And understand that profit is what will build all supply chains, including the circular one. That's it. And we need to look at the waste that is generated by specific, usually large sectors of industry. Look at that waste through the viewpoint of, like somebody mining for gold,
Yeah,
right? What can I do with that that'll make me money? And it doesn't have to be recycled back into what it was. We need to release that notion. That's completely unnecessary, right? Um, so the so the idea for the phrase "there's cash in that trash" literally comes from what many plant managers shouted when they found a pallet or a piece of steel in the dumpster, and then we had to dig it out, right? So
yeah,
let us infuse that kind of value into everything that's getting thrown away now, so that we wouldn't dream of throwing it away because we can make some money off of it, right? And
exactly.
and we, meaning, I mean, literally you, me, the people in supply chain, we're the ones that build that. It's not pulled off the shelf. The solution is not all perfect and ready for us. We build it. And if we focus on that over the next 20 years, I think we can close what is about a 30-year maturity gap in
Mhm.
between the global linear take, make, dispose supply chain and the circular supply chain. Those supply chains are about 30 years apart in maturity. And I just want to say one other thing. In creating the linear supply chain, we are halfway done. We finish it when we
Yeah.
finish the circular supply chain. We're halfway done with our work. So that's the task,
Beautiful.
right?
Yeah. And to be honest, the best thing that I picked from your explanation was the fact that it doesn't have to get recycled into what it was. Because I
It
feel
doesn't.
that exactly the idea
Right.
that it needs to go back to its original form is what probably brings stress and confusion when they say that, oh, you need to apply circular supply chain or, just do something about it. But when you associate as a human nature, I feel we care about money way too much. So as soon as you put it in that way, the perspective totally changes and they start taking interest in something that they earlier weren't that bothered about.
Right. And, if we look at, certainly this is true within the United States, circularity has been driven by government. And the only levers that government has are taxes and penalties. Industry builds trade and profit. Government builds taxes and penalties. And their circular supply chains that take things like the plastic water bottle and make it into more plastic water bottles are largely unsuccessful. They cost the taxpayer a lot of money and don't solve the root cause of any of the problems, right? Government doesn't know how to build supply chains. We know how to do that, right? And plastic just to kind of throw some numbers behind it, because we're all data people, right? In the United States, plastic is recycled at only 5%. This is a tax
That's
penalty
so low.
driven system, right?
True.
And they're still only achieving 5% recyclability. And that figure comes from when Asia was still accepting our recyclables. It's going to end up a lot lower than that on the next assessment, right?
True.
It's a failure. In comparison, um, we can look to the metal circular supply chain, steel, copper, lead, all the rest of that. That circular supply chain has been around for literally thousands of years. Since
Yeah.
humans first started taking
Existed,
metals.
yeah.
And absolutely, you wouldn't throw that away. You wouldn't throw the broken knife away, the broken sword away. You wouldn't do that. You'd recycle it into it. That's how the metal circular supply chain was formed. And really, we supply chain leaders, we can just look right to that for our
True.
example. There is our working example of a profit-driven circular supply chain, and on average, metal within the United States is recycled at a rate of 50%, and it doesn't cost you a dime.
True.
Big
Yeah.
difference. No tax dollars to run that. 50%. Many metals are recycled at a much higher rate, but on average, it's 50%. But people will pick an aluminum can up out of the trash because
True.
that's cash, right?
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
worth real money. Yeah, yeah. And so we just need to look at what the waste is
True.
and either eliminate it so like in the cases of some packaging, I believe that's entirely doable,
Yeah.
um, or convert it into some sort of value. And since I spent so many years in my manufacturing time in the woodworking and furniture industry that creates wood waste, that is, I think we're going to get a serenade here pretty soon. Since I'm so familiar with wood waste and in the process involved in that part of the industry, I decided to focus on the kind of wood waste that is made from MDF particle board. It's got some glue, some plastic in it. There's no use for that, right? There's no use for that that is equal to the supply of it. And what do we do in supply chain? We make supply and demand equal.
Equal.
All right, that's another one. We bear that in mind. There's lots of little cottage industries, circular supply chain examples that everybody just loves, but it is dealing with a pin drop of the waste, right? We need something that is at the scale of how much waste is produced. I thought, and the people that I partnered with when we first got into this, we thought, maybe we'll make more of the composite wood, the decking that's a composite of plastic and and wood, and maybe that's the right direction to go. But that market is actually really saturated. There's not a lot of room in that market, and the equipment investment is pretty darn big, right? We found out a few months into the development or into the research of the program that technology has advanced for converting the wood waste into electricity to make the equipment investment significantly smaller than it was about 10 years ago. And we often, I would like to give some praise to our friends in engineering, right? Because it's actually going to be engineering and the people that develop equipment that develop circularity. We think that's going to happen in the environmental classes. It's not.
No.
It's going to be machinery and equipment that turns that corner, right? And so it turns out that this type of equipment has advanced really far, and that it's become very clean air. So it doesn't emit into the environment. And you can, a factory that makes kitchen cabinets and things like that, they can take the wood waste that they've been paying to have hauled away and thrown into landfills, spend about between $4 to $8 million on a set of equipment that takes that wood waste, converts it into electricity that doesn't go back to the utility. It goes directly into the factory. Now, many factories have in California electricity bills that are upwards of $1.5 million a year. So, I said 4 million to 8 million.
Yeah.
It actually, the ROI is not too bad on that.
Yeah.
Right? And there are some tax benefits, and there's a byproduct that you can sell, but you're offsetting or eliminating your electricity bill, and at a time where we all see how much power the data centers are taking, gives your business a resiliency that it didn't have before, because these things are not like solar or wind. This is what they call firm power. Right? It works when the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow and the grid goes down. We're still making electricity. And that can prove to be a community resiliency center. So it cannot just only serve the factory. We can have the unique blessing of serving our communities as well in times of emergency.
There was
it's
so
really
many facts.
it's
Yeah. I'm just like totally like trying to absorb it in detail because it was something I had no idea about. And wow, like you just helped me increase my general knowledge as well.
Isn't that
And that
interesting?
was so cool. Yeah.
And so organic waste is something that we can create electricity with. It doesn't have to be the wood waste, right? It can be waste from crops. It can be yard waste. We should stop looking at that as waste and look at it more like we would as natural gas or crude oil, right? Let's look at it as a source of electricity. And when we look at it as a source of electricity, the environmental benefits are also like really off the scale, because of course, all of this organic waste, anybody who stood next to a pile of compost knows that it gets hot, right? When organic waste rots, it off gases methane. There's that heat, right? So in the near term, these bioenergy systems remove methane from the environment, and more rapidly contribute to lowering the global temperature than the removal of carbon does in the near term, right? But in the long term, these systems also sequester carbon. You know, in our field, we always look for the win-win.
Yeah,
We got it. We
true.
got it. It is a
It is
win-win.
actually.
Mhm.
Exactly. And it is so beautiful. I just feel more and more people need to be educated about it because anytime we
Absolutely.
talk about recycling the organic waste, my brain literally thinks of putting it in crops so it acts as a fertilizer or something. But no one actually thinks so far that we have actually come up with something as amazing as being able to generate electricity from it. So
Yes,
I
at a
feel,
time when we need it so
yeah,
badly, right? We need electricity so badly right now. And the solution is literally in the landfill.
exactly.
Yeah.
And the way you said it, the one situation is such a big deal. Like at this point, and with this inflation, so many issues with the
Yeah.
whole, I need to earn a lot of money before I have like the upper class life. This is the need of the hour. People will willingly put it into implementation if they know about it. And I feel
Yes, I think so too. I think so
we
too.
really need to, yeah,
To release this, I mean, we're literally like releasing the wealth that exists in the world today. And I believe because when we look at the circular economy, let's realize that we're taking something that is either free or we're actually paying to throw it away, and we're
true.
making money off of it. I think that
Yeah,
that has the potential to double the size of the economy.
exactly.
Let's see in,
Great point.
30 years if we pull this off, my friend, because we're going to do this together, right? If we pull this off 30 years from now, there will be a whole new circular economy that maybe AI assists with,
True.
but it doesn't replace the job of. Here's how we can create whole new sets of jobs, whole new sets of jobs that didn't exist before.
Before,
Right.
yes.
If I can, let me, for the
Yes,
folks that are
please.
listening, I'm going to explain an existing wood waste supply chain and then explain what I visualize as possible. Okay.
Would love to.
So, so as it stands today, your broken dining room set, all that, the old garage door, all that goes thrown into the landfill, right? You have to pay to throw it away, as compared to if you put some scrap steel out on your curb in front of your home, somebody will pick that up because it's worth
Yeah,
something, right?
true.
That changes. That broken dining room set is now worth money, just like your old barbecue is. That same partner in the circular supply chain, they essentially do the same thing, but they pick up your wood too, and they take it to a wood scrap yard where it is maybe ground down into feedable material, right? And then these bioenergy systems are not just at the woodworker, they're powering the EV charging station. They're next to the wood waste scrapyard, and that wood waste scrapyard becomes a massive industrial charging station for box trucks and Class 8 vehicles, right? It releases that value. Now, there's an old funny joke in the US about, but wait, there's more. But wait, there's more. So we envision the woodworking factory that, okay, they're making good money off of their chairs or their cabinets or whatever they sell, right? They have reduced their costs by eliminating their electricity bill. Maybe it's 3 or 4 years down the road, the equipment's all paid for. They decide that they're going to take this byproduct that's created in the process, which is called biochar, right? And maybe they're going to invest in a factory to go onto their existing industrial property to convert that biochar into products of greater value. One of those byproducts is graphene that's
Okay.
worth $45,000 a ton. So imagine that the waste that you were paying maybe $45,000 every 4 to 6 months to dispose of now earns you $45,000, and all the way through that process, it made your whole process more profitable. That is entirely possible. The only gap is investment and time. The conversion of this biochar into
Yeah.
graphene is already happening. There's a company in New Zealand doing it. There's another being set up in Canada. So biochar, its oldest use is in agriculture, and it's great for agriculture. But its industrial uses are honestly what I'm the most interested in. Graphene, hydrogen, fuel grade hydrogen can be made off of this without having to pay for a bunch of electricity, because the electricity is generated in the process.
Yeah,
Um, so
that is
there's
what
lots of cash in that trash
potential.
if we build
So
the
much
supply chain.
potential.
Mm-hmm.
It's the
Mm-hmm.
main thing.
Yeah, we just have to build it.
Exactly.
We, the supply chain professionals, we build supply chains. That's what we do. So we got to build this one.
That is true. And I feel what you just said literally supports the next point that I have, that for this, we're going to need a community that is going to be building it. So I know
100%.
that you're working really hard towards building like a proper way in which we are able to educate the people in schools and colleges about supply chain. So please tell us more about how you aim at seeing it happening, because I feel you definitely have a vision for this one too. But I want to understand. So, currently, the way I see it is supply chain is taught at a very large scale basis. It's quite broad, and we are quite aware that it's a very broad sector. But at the same time, I don't currently feel it touches upon the essentials the way it should. So, I want to know from you, now that you are so amazingly invested in making a big change, what, according to you, are the major topics to be taught at school level, at university level, that is going to help us make this amazing initiative possible?
Mm. So basic supply chain that teaches supply chain from end to end, not in deep depth, but teaches the student about where the handoffs are, how the
Yeah.
sequence goes, and why the sequence goes that way. The very basics. I kind of think of this as teaching somebody to read, teaching them the ABCs and how to do beginner's
Yeah.
level reading, right? Let's look at that supply chain course like that, because our profession, the way that we developed the education for our profession, started with the leading professionals teaching the profession. It was professional to professional. Many years later, it was adapted by universities, right? And so we kind of started our education a little bit too high up,
Mhm.
and we forgot about the beginner, right? We completely forgot that there's somebody
True.
entering the study of supply
Sector.
chain with
Yeah.
zero knowledge of it. And in my view, the person that we need to serve there is the high school student. I think
True.
every high school student around the world should have an opportunity to learn basic supply chain,
True.
because whatever they do,
Mm.
they're part of the supply chain,
That
right?
is true.
Whatever they do, right? Now we look at it this way. We don't just teach people who will be writers how to read. We don't just teach math to mathematicians. These are basic skills, and supply chain fundamental knowledge is a basic skill that should be taught at the high school level. I'm very passionate about that, and I think you and I both know that supply chain education is not something that one person puts together. It's
Definitely.
very complex and has to be updated continuously because
Continuously.
as the world changes, the education has to be updated. And so that means that supply chain education has to be it's really developing that
Flexible.
curriculum, yeah, and keeping it at the very top. Oh, a company has to be devoted to doing that, not just a person, right? And so I finally found, after a lot of work, the partner for that. And the company is called V Care Academy. And I would encourage everybody to look at their education. V Care Academy is easy to find on the website. And when I spoke with one of the founders of that organization, a wonderful hearted man named Zishan, and said, we're missing the high school kid. We don't have anything for them. And I need it to be taught in the poorest schools. And they don't have much money for it. And we can't be the ones to teach it. Your regular teacher needs to teach it, right? And I said, nobody will partner with me with that. And I had already worked on it for 2 years, trying to find a partner. And almost before I finished that sentence, he said, we will. And we will spend, and we, on that same conversation, which was almost 2 years ago, we agreed to spend the next decade working together on it. And
I am
so
so happy. Yes. So
now kids, I mean, like Friday, I'm going into a high
yay.
school classroom and delivering these kids my supply chain solves the unsolvable presentation. And
So
I'm
happy.
getting kids excited about supply
Supply
chain
chain.
as a solution,
True.
right?
That is so true. I personally had this experience. Even a lot of my guests who love supply chain now got into it accidentally. So that is a sign that the sector
That's
is
right.
not that famous. It's not that pitched because as we,
Right?
people are trying to make it like a, I don't know, easy decision sometimes. I feel even for a lot of my friends, it comes down to they're like, oh, we went for finance because one, it is known what the pathway would be if we choose
Mm-hmm.
finance. You get
Mm-hmm.
the guidance, the amount of resources for finance is insanely high. Second comes marketing, then it's business. It's all the things which are already tested and proved. They are aware of it. People literally started giving importance to supply chain due to COVID. They were like,
Yeah. Oh, it's so true.
oh,
So true.
exactly.
Yeah,
So
yeah. It's the joke
it's
is
like,
everybody finally learned what we did during COVID, right?
exactly. They're like, you do this, now it makes sense.
Yeah, now I know what you do, mom, dad, uncle, right?
True. And I feel the amazing initiative that you're taking of teaching the kids at such a younger level is going to make a lot of impact. Because I feel
Think
how
so.
are everyone, like kids, university kids, even me, when I chose it, I just did my set of research, how much I was able to find within like a week of making my decision, and I signed up for it. That was it. If someone had taught me, say, from 10th grade till like 5 years,
Yeah.
just basic stuff,
Yeah.
just like finance and accounting, I would have known if I wanted to get into it or not and felt confident about it. I know that how unsure I was when I took it because how am I supposed to like give my life to a degree which I have researched on for hardly a week? That's so scary. But I really am so happy with my choice now because I understand it now. But that's the whole point. Just because it took a lot of time, it's really unfair that we don't get to know about it since a younger age.
Sooner. Yeah. Reaching, being with the kids is the joy of my life. I
Oh,
feel like to a certain degree, maybe I missed my calling. Maybe I should have been a teacher because this is just so fun to be with the kids. And from time to time, I get to go speak to a class of elementary school kids. I have noticed I have a great story to share, but I have also noticed that when I go into the areas that are lower income areas, that the children have a understanding of supply chain that exists already. It comes
Yeah.
from having not having enough. Not having enough teaches you how to supply chain, teaches you, right? And those
Definitely.
little kids in the poorer parts
Yeah.
of the communities that I've gone to, they understand supply chain like that. I've
Sure.
even heard like third graders use common supply chain terms when I've asked them a question and given them a little
Wow.
prize in exchange. And I'm looking at like, aren't you like 8 or 9 years old? And it's
Insane.
and it comes from poverty, right? You have
Yeah.
an innate understanding of supply chain when you have experienced poverty.
You try
Um,
to make things work and you try to take the best out of that till like the last level. You try to squeeze out the advantages of
oh,
that little
100%,
thing. There
right?
is no waste.
You cut open the tube of lotion to get that last bit out, right? You
Yay.
know, yes, you're out of one thing. And so, okay, well, what do we have that could be a substitution for that? And that's actually the word that this little child used with me, because I asked the question to the class, well, what do you do if you don't have one of these ingredients? And this little girl said, well, we'll have to find something to substitute for it. Like,
Wow.
that's inside a bill of materials. That's a bill of material language, right? But a little girl knew about it. One of the other things that I thought that really had a huge impact on me, just kind of backing up a little bit. Sometimes we decide that some type of technology or some sort of solution or sort of energy that it's bad. Right. Sometimes we make that decision. And when we make that decision, we turn off our learning center because we decided that it's bad. Right. The better approach is to use our 5 why methodology and say, well, why? And how could that be resolved? Because again, going back to our engineers, we'll figure it out. What's wrong with it? Then I mean, that's how catalytic converters became created. It's how advanced filters became created. What's the problem to solve? What's the specific problem to solve? And in my generation, I'm almost 60. We were very against nuclear energy because of some of the accidents that we saw, right?
Yeah.
So I decided, right? We decided that it's bad.
Yeah.
People of your generation and younger, kind of you solved the problem, didn't you?
True.
Yeah.
That
And
is
so the thing that really the kids open your eyes. All of these things that I say that all sound really wise, they all started from the mouth of a child, right?
yeah.
And I went to speak to a room full of fourth graders, so that's like somebody that's about 10 years old, I guess. And it was a very poorly behaved class, but lots of fun, lots of fun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have fun with kids. You put me in there. I don't care if they listen or not. I'll have fun, right? And we had fun, but it was very chaotic. It was like talking to a room of wild animals, right? And as they were filing out, going, bye, Miss Nord, I thought, well, this was adorable, but they didn't hear me. And a serious little boy wearing round glasses came up to me and he said, Ms. Nord, I'd like to get your opinion on nuclear energy because the waste continues to generate power. I mean, doesn't it almost sounds like something that I made up that a child
Yeah.
said, right? And I just
Yeah.
said, well, I guess you're right. Keep working on that. I bet you he ends up being the president of a nuclear company at
Yeah.
some point in his life because he's 10 years old and he's already trying to figure it out.
True.
What to do with wood waste? Look, I've been trying to figure that out for almost 30 years. Okay, so it's nothing magical that we
Beautiful.
finally got there. It's years of thinking about it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I really, really love the mission, the idea, and the energy that you have. Like, it's so contagious. I've just been smiling and now this hurts because of how excited you are when you tell your stories. And it's beautiful. If you don't know, you already are a teacher. You're teaching a lot
I
of
guess
people about
so, huh?
different
I guess
facts and
so.
different ideas. And this child just looked like the third standard kid as well, going like, oh wow.
I guess that's right. Thank you. That makes me feel really good. Thank you. And teachers are, you know, one of the things that I think our profession should grow to understand is that we have, we all have our job that we're paid for, but those skills are also our skills for society. And doctors and nurses show us how to do that beautifully, right? They get paid by the hospital, but then they are also a healer for humankind. They have this higher role, right? Um, that everybody recognizes the nobility of.
Yeah,
The
of
same is
course.
true for teachers. Teachers are
Mm,
teachers. They teach. That is a noble thing, right?
yeah.
We need to plug into our nobility,
Mm,
our role for humanity, and it is to be the protector of children and family prosperity within our supply chains. And that will unlock the most money too. It will unlock the most money. People are looking at that like, oh, well, that's all touchy-feely. I need to make money. You'll make more money.
yeah,
It
true.
is the things that don't protect the environment, that don't protect family prosperity. Those are fragile supply chains. Those are supply chains losing money,
Exactly.
right? Um, anyway,
You
we can
actually
do
showed it so beautifully that you don't have to be all, oh, I don't make money out of it when you're doing the noble task. You can
don't,
make a very, very big impact and earn a lot of money. It can go hand in hand.
right? Doctors do that every day. Doctors are well
Exactly.
paid, and then they, I know several doctors that donate their time to doing like surgeries for people that could never afford them before. Friends of mine go out once a year to remote locations with a group of dentistry professionals and doctors, and they carry 2 suitcases. One of those suitcases is full of medications from the United States. That's a supply chain for good, if there ever was
Yeah,
one. Right?
true.
Yeah, yeah.
You're
So we,
working on a very, very beautiful mission. And I really think you should start teaching more because the ideas that you have, they make us understand over the time that both doing good work and money can go hand in hand.
hand in
A
hand,
lot of
we,
time, a
right?
lot of yeah, a lot of people have that wrong notion that, hey, I need money to survive. I need money to, just run my house. I don't have time for the noble stuff because, yeah, we have on an overall basis created a notion that, okay, when you do a noble task, you might not get paid for it. It might not be that rewarding in the financial way and stuff like that.
Right.
But we need more people like you who make it crisp clear that, hey, they
It's
can
the
go hand in
same
hand. You
thing.
just need to know how to do it.
Right, right, right. One of the things that I would love for people, especially politicians,
Yeah.
to consider is that like right now in the United States, we're hearing all these figures about how much money is spent on political
Yeah.
campaigns, right? Is that really a good use of money? Right? Is that like what? Where's that going to? What does it put food in bellies? What if we advertised for ourselves as a politician or for our business with our good deeds? What if that was our advertisement, right? And taking that into action, I'm launching a anti-litter campaign
Okay.
called Litter Steals Their Future, meaning the
Mhm.
future is the future of a child. right? And I have even invested in putting up billboards in Los Angeles for 3 months. So it's a pretty big investment, right? I'm spending my time talking to elected officials about just enforcing the code to keep litter off of the streets, and also pointing out to them how much money is being lost on tolerating a societal behavior that does not have to be tolerated. We could change litter substantially, right? And that keeps it out of the water, keeps it out of our bodies, right? That we need to look at litter as really, truly the easiest environmental problem that we have to solve. It is the easiest one, right? So, okay, boy, I'm spending a lot of money on that. It's at the end of the day, I've budgeted about $13,000 for this campaign, right?
It's an investment, though.
I
Yeah.
think it'll make a difference, right? But those billboards say supplychainsforgood.org.
True.
Those billboards that are making a difference about litter and my work towards it are also advertisement for my business. And I could have spent the same amount of money on a radio commercial, on a TV commercial, or I could have spent it making a difference. Right? And for me, that's like, I would go to that business because they walk the talk. Right? That's where my money's going, because they're doers.
Yeah.
And I would, wouldn't it be amazing if politicians,
Right.
instead of spending $1,000 million on an advertising campaign, spent $1,000 million solving homelessness?
True. That is so true. And are you for real? Like, you're actually so inspiring and still so human. Like, I don't have to doubt, like, is she really this nice? And at the same time, I'm like, she's so awesome. Lots of love.
Thank you.
I
My heart
really,
grew.
really
My heart grew from that. Thank you, dear. You're very
I
kind.
personally I can't wait for everyone to see this episode because it is so inspiring, so real, so eye-opening, and it teaches you a totally different perspective from what we have grown up understanding. It's like
Right. We need to really change some of our fundamental ways of thinking. And when we switch that around, it really unlocks enormous
yeah,
potential. But I'm excited about our conversation because you reach a whole sector of people that I would never reach, right? So you reach people that I don't. And the thing that I want to really leave our peers with, our supply chain peers with, is the knowledge that first, supply chain can save the world, right? We may laugh and grin about that, but I mean it. And if you know supply chain well enough, you know that that's true. Supply chain can save the world. It can solve every problem that the world has. Supply chain can solve those, right? And then the other thing that is equally important is a knowledge of our own power. We don't see it. We don't understand that we are a superhero. And when we take our normal job skills, just the normal job skills, into serving humanity, woo, you're like a superhero at that table. You had no idea
true.
that your normal skills were that powerful. It's shocking.
Definitely.
It's
Yeah.
like, it's like Superman going from his home planet down to Earth and realizing that the baby can lift a bus over its head, right? We're that baby going, wow, I can lift a bus. I can lift a bus here, right? That's our normal skills, normal skills. So join committees, run for office, supply chain for good.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
actually so,
Yeah, thank
so
you.
amazing and inspiring. Now, I have like a very last quick question for people who are gonna be beginning. Say they get inspired by the episode and they're like, okay, I want to understand supply chain, but are beginners or super freshers. What should they begin with? What should they read to begin with?
What I would suggest, and this is the foundation for our high school class, go to assuming that they're like at a high school level or junior high level, like 9th, 10th grade up, right?
Yeah.
And their school doesn't offer this, go to the VCare Academy site, look up the mini master classes, and take the online course called Supply Chain Framework and Strategy. That's the course that teaches you end-to-end supply chain. It's basic supply chain. You will understand how everything connects from that. It's available online, $85. You get a certificate at the end of it. It's a video course, very easy to follow. We make our education simple to understand and entertaining to take. So definitely go there. If they want to grow from that, we have courses in sustainability and supply chain, purchasing sustainability, and also significant courses in logistics and transportation, right? So that's definitely how you can learn. Now, if it's a little kid, VCare Academy has a delightful course called Little Leaders in Supply Chain that you can easily find. So VCare Academy, Little Leaders in Supply Chain, and it's written for children, and it is 100% free. We welcome, we give this to the world as a gift.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And
Yes.
honestly, I really, really am so happy that there exists something which someday, if I get questioned that, you just promoted so much, how should we start learning? Then I have something to guide them towards. So
Definitely,
thank you
VCare
for
Academy.
beginning something.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
talking about the people say and they're starting off their careers, they are just trying to explore what is it that going to be. Like they're not very young, they are say in their 18s and 20s somewhere. Then
Mhm.
what book or what course do you think is a good idea?
What I would suggest is, again, assuming that they don't have any kind of
Right.
background in it, still begin with that strategy and framework of supply chain. Let's consider that the ABCs, right? Learning that's your fundamentals. You got to do that before you advance on. The next course that I would take, and this is also available in the mini master classes series, is Logistics and Transportation and Supply Chain.
Okay.
And you will recognize the voice narrating that. It's mine. And I ran supply chains for a long time, international supply chains, right? There were things in that course that I learned from narrating the course. It's
Uh,
really deep into logistics and transportation, and I consider that a absolutely superb course that I wish I had taken myself in my first or second year in supply chain. It's really good, much harder, but
yeah,
you've been
really good.
prepared by the basic supply chain course, so that's
True.
another goodie. Yeah. Those mini master
Wow.
classes that VCare Academy offers, those are really good ways for you to just learn a little bit on the weekends when you have time at your own pace, right?
True. Perfect. Thank you so, so much, CJ. You have made me happy. You made me surprised. You made me feel educated. You made me feel like, oh my God, I'm learning so much. And you helped me with getting something where I can guide people towards as well with the amazing courses that you just mentioned. So thank you so, so much for
Thank
enlightening
you.
us today and letting me meet your little babies behind you. I love how
My fur
they make
babies.
me so much.
I love dogs.
They're
Yeah.
adorable.
Yeah. Well,
They're adorable.
aren't they good kids? Yeah. And
Uh,
thank you too, because this concept of supply chains for good in that supply chain is in for the greater good, right?
that is
Um,
true.
I want in time for that to be significantly bigger than me and to live past my lifetime. So help me with that, because it doesn't that concept belongs to us, not to
True.
me,
That is true.
right?
Definitely. And the amazing, amazing person you are, I can't wait to just air the episode for people to just fill the whole comment section going like, this is so cool, this is so amazing. We just learned so many new things by it. So thank you very, very much for inspiring us. And I'm definitely joining you in making it a bigger mission.
Good.
I'm gonna
Together we
try.
can. Good.
Exactly.
Okay. All
And
right, my
you're
friend.
one of those amazing, amazing people that I really personally feel so, I would say, inspired by. That episode today, it's like I had different set of things in my mind when we were gonna talk, but I'm leaving way more inspired and happy and like, oh, I got to learn new thing today than I actually had in mind. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. That's incredible because it's changing the mind of people who are younger than us that
That's true.
changes the world. So let's change the world for a better place together.
Definitely. And I am so